Okay, so it's finally time to make the hunter that will be part of our guide, and this is for Horde, so if you are Alliance you might not get that much out of this, but you can still learn some. The races on Horde side which can be hunters are Orc, Tauren, Troll and Blood Elf. And we will start with the Orc, which is the first choice. Orcs are versatile, they can be stamina build, intellect build, agility build, raw attack power build and still have good stats. They also have very good racials. Their base stats are 47 agility, 41 stamina and 28 intellect, and you should see a stat breakdown next to this. If you go with an intellect build you will gain 75 attack power from your base stats, which is pretty good. The orcs have Blood Fury, which is a 2-minute cooldown that gives you an additional 78 attack power for 15 seconds. This is a great racial, and especially if you stack it together with a Wolf's Furious Howls for an additional 43 attack power, which becomes 121 attack power for 15 seconds. The Furious Howl is actually longer, but for 15 seconds you will have 121 extra attack power. They also have 15% resistance to stun effects, and their pets do an additional 5% damage. They also get 5 expertise with axes and fist weapons, but that is pretty useless. I can really recommend an orc if you are not sure what to take as your new hunter, then you will not be disappointed with an orc. And that pretty much sums up the orc, so let's move on to Tauren. Tauren is in my opinion one of the last choices as a hunter. If you really want to be a Tauren because you think that the Tauren look cool and you feel that Tauren is the race for you, then take a Tauren because then you will be happy with your choice. If you take Tauren because you feel like, I think that the racials looks kinda good, then don't take a Tauren because you will be disappointed later on. But we will go through the Tauren more in a bit here. As far as the base stats goes, Tauren have 45 agility, 49 stamina and 27 intellect, which enable them to be pretty much any build. You can go agility, intellect, stamina or raw attack power. But a stamina build is where they would shine the most since they have the highest base health. And they also get 5% base health, which is 24.5 hit points from their racial ability Endurance. And that makes the base health be around 510 hit points. You should see that in a stat breakdown. But yeah, they are the highest on health. They also have nature resistance, which pretty much is that you have 2% reduced chance to be hit by nature magic spells. And then they have War Stomp. And I was a Tauren from half vanilla till half the Burning Crusade, where I rolled a Blood Elf instead. And I eventually race changed my Tauren into a Blood Elf as well to get the feats of strength. But the War Stomp looks a lot better than it really is. It's just a half a second cast, which is basically nothing. Sorry. But if you're hit while trying to get it off, it's so easily pushed back that you can actually die before you get it off, and many times it will be worse actually using the stomp than not using it. But when it do go off, it stuns up to 5 enemies within 8 yards. The bad part there is that it's on global cooldown, so your enemies will pretty much be out of the stun when you can use an ability again, so basically did nothing. But it is pretty good at getting rogues out of stealth, interrupt a healer or sometimes escaping. But it ain't that great. Then they have the worst racial of all, Cultivation, which is Herbalism skill plus 15. And then you think like, why is that so bad? Get Lifeblood easier here. But no, you don't. You will have to get those 15 points. later on, so you will have to farm an additional 15 points in Stranglethorn Vale or Arati Highlands, or you might even have to go higher up. And 15 points is a lot of herbs, so that will pretty much be a pain in the ass. Taurens are also huge. They are easy to target, easy to see, and you will have problems hiding. But I think that's pretty much it about the Tauren. If you really do want to be a Tauren, then go for it. There is nothing wrong with being a Tauren. I am just preparing you for what you might find out later. Trolls are a bit tricky to me because I've actually never been a troll, but they have the highest agility on Horde side, but also the lowest intellect. I am not sure that a troll would actually be preferred as a hunter after kind of setting myself into the racials and their base stats, and I'll go through why. The troll's base stats are 53 agility, 36 stamina and 19 intellect, which is very low. So you will have a mana problem, especially if you go all out on example agility or stamina or attack power. But if you go stamina, I believe that you do get a bunch of intellect from gear. But you might actually have to go with an intellect spec, and I didn't really think that until I really set my into this race here. If you go with an intellect spec, you will pretty much solve the mana problem, otherwise you will run out of mana fast. They don't get that much out of an intellect build though, they only get 72 attack power total from their base stats. So an agility build would be where they kinda gain the most damage out of their build, but they will also be very low on mana. As far as racials goes, they have berserking, which ain't really that good for hunter. It's 20% increased cast and attack speed for 10 seconds, and that means that your auto attack and scare beast will be 20% faster, and that's not really much for a 2-minute cooldown, so you won't have that much use for berserking. They also have regeneration, which gives you 10% increased health regeneration, and 10% of your health regeneration continues in combat. It's not really a game breaking ability there, but I guess it ain't really bad either, but it's not really good either. They have bow specialization, which gives you 1% increased chance to critically hit with bows and throwing weapons. That's pretty good, so of course a bow would be a preferred. The Voodoo Shuffle gives you 15% reduced duration of moment reducing effects. Also they have a beast slaying, which should affect druids and shamans when they are in their animal forms as well as pets. So that ain't bad, but I do think that Troll is more of a rogue race. I think you would gain more out of these abilities as a rogue than you get as a hunter, and this is one of my last choices. You might get disappointed if you take a Troll, but as with the Tauren, you should take what you want to take. I am just putting up my opinion on what I think is the best choices. Blood Elves are the race on Horde side with the highest base stats, which are 51 agility, 38 stamina and 35 intellect. As you can see, that's a lot of good stats there. An intellect build would be preferred, and you would get 86 attack power out of your base stats. But Blood Elves can be any build. You can go agility, you can go stamina, even though stamina will be a bit lower than Orc and Tauren, but you can go with agility, stamina, intellect or raw attack power, and you will still have good stats. But you would do the best as an intellect build. However, it's very hard to make an intellect build, so you should probably start with agility if this is a new hunter for you. The racials are not the best, but they ain't bad. They do have plus 15 in enchanting, which I haven't actually added even, because it's useless. But they also have Arcane Torrent, which is a great ability, and many people make it seem like Arcane Torrent sucks, because if you're in melee as a hunter, you either suck or you're dying. But yeah, that's not really true. As a hunter, you have a lot of downtime in your DPS, where both multi-shot and arcane shot are on cooldown. Then you got two options. You can either go into melee, or you can wait for an out attack and waste some mana on refreshing Serpent Sting. But if you do go into melee, then you can use Raptor Strike, Mungo's Bite, Wing Clip, and Arcane Torrent. You can silence the healer, or even a group of casters, because Arcane Torrent silences all enemies within 8 yards and restores 6% of your mana. And if you go with an intellect build, 6% will be around 80 or 90 mana if you have a mana pool of like 1400 mana. If you go with an agility build, stamina build, or raw attack power build, you might not really get much out of Arcane Torrent. But you shouldn't really use Arcane Torrent as a mana regenerating ability unless you're desperate. Blood Elves also have magic resistance, which basically means that you have a 2% reduced chance to be hit by enemy spells, and that's pretty good. That's useful. And yeah, that's pretty much it about Blood Elf. They are a great choice as a hunter. They have high base stats and you can get your attack power up. They are also small, especially the female, which is the smallest on Horde side. But in this guide I will make an orc female, since I already got a male. Not really sure how this should look here. I don't really care, but maybe something like this, something ugly, and I will come up with a name, and in the next episode we will start with our new hunter. Until then, thank you for watching and see you next time.